Alright, we're back, of course, talking about the GOAT, Nobuo Uematsu, who is seemingly retiring after the release of Fantasian Neo Dimension. They dropped a video on the Twitter account, the official Twitter account for Fantasian Neo Dimension. A really quick video where he talks about that game being his last project for video game music.
ファンタジアンがですね、12月5日発売が決定いたしました。僕のゲーム音楽としての最後の作品となります。ぜひ買って遊んでください。よろしくお願いします。
Now, I say he's seemingly retiring only because we know he's still going to be doing shit. Like, he's still going to be making the main theme for the third remake game, right? And that may or may not be done already. I don't know. I don't know what stage in development they would compose the main theme for the third game. But I would assume that's not done yet. So he's still going to be obviously making a song for that game. I think a lot of the common belief right now is that he might be done doing like full soundtracks for games, which is something we've heard him talk about before. His quote is saying this actually earlier this year with Zeet Online, I think I said. It's like a German outlet. And he says, as far as the Final Fantasy is concerned, I'm still involved by writing the main themes for the games, but I don't think I'll compose music for a whole game again. You'd have to give it full throttle for 2 or 3 years, and I don't think I have the physical and mental strength to do it anymore. So that's around like February or so this year, like right prior to Rebirth coming out. And maybe things have changed. A lot of time has passed since then. Maybe he does want to fully retire now. Obviously, he's got to fulfill his obligations with something like the third remake game. But maybe he does want to like fully retire. But at least as of like earlier this year, he wasn't down to do like full game soundtracks anymore, except for maybe, I guess, Fantasian Neo Dimension. Also, back in 2021, in an interview with comicbook.com, Sakaguchi mentioned when they were first releasing Fantasian on mobile that it's probably the last time that Uematsu would do a full soundtrack for a game. Regardless, if my guy wants to retire after, Fantasian Neo Dimension or whatever from doing like full game soundtracks, or retire from, video game music entirely, whatever. Like, he's been doing it for so long. Been doing it for like 38 years, right? Been doing it since 1986. Starting with Square, obviously. He actually did look at his wiki, he did a fuck ton of other games prior to the first Final Fantasy, which I guess I wasn't really aware of. I've looked at his like total history before. But obviously myself, and I imagine a lot of people out there know him because of the Final Fantasy series. It's really hard to put into words the impact this guy's had on our lives, right? My life, your life. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy, you're a fan of Uematsu. Even if you're not a fan of Final Fantasy, but you enjoy the music, you're a fan of Uematsu, right? He's just an absolute legend in the industry. And I've been playing the Final Fantasy series for 20-something years. I don't know exactly where and when, the exact year that I started, enjoying the Final Fantasy franchise, but more than 2 decades of my life has been spent playing the Final Fantasy series, and the music has always been a part of that, right? It's always a big, like, factor of the Final Fantasy games. You have the characters, you have the story, you have the worlds. Those are all great things, but also the fucking music, man. But if Uematsu is indeed retiring from video game music, that's a big deal, man. It's a bittersweet thing because there's part of me that would still like him to contribute if he can, if he's willing to, if he's got the strength to do it, whatever. I'm not talking full soundtracks. I'm not even talking doing the main themes of any games. Just if he wants to contribute, make a song for any particular game, whatever, that'd be great. But also, like, he's been doing it for so fucking long. He's already contributed so much to the industry. It's like, if he just wants to enjoy the rest of his life, fuck yeah, dude. Absolutely. But also him being a composer, right? That's like his job he's been doing for however many fucking years now. I can't imagine he would just quit, right? Like, even if he retires from video game music, he'd probably still be making music for other stuff. He's done music for like animes and things like that, right? So I don't know if you'd just quit music entirely. Maybe he's been doing it for so long, he's like, fuck, dude, I just want to do something else. So that's fine too. But I would hope he'd still make music in some capacity, because it'd be weird to be in a world where Uematsu's not making music, whether that's for video games or anything else. So again, I don't know if Uematsu's done entirely just making video game music at all. Just because, like, the Twitter video is so vague. It's like 11 seconds long, right? It just says final project, but what does that mean, right? Because, again, we know he has obligations in the future. So I don't know. Even if Uematsu's just done doing like full game soundtracks, that's still a big deal, right? It means that, Fantasian Neo Dimension is the last time he's doing that shit. And it gives me a little more incentive to want to get the game. I was already a little bit intrigued because of like the diorama thing they're doing. Because I've never even heard of the fucking game until this year with Square Enix, like, kind of re-releasing the game or whatever. I've never heard of the game, and I don't know shit about it, but like what they've done with the game is very, very interesting. But it also being like Uematsu's last like big project, doing like the full 60 song soundtrack or whatever for the game. That's a big deal, man. And I think I have to get it now. He's by far my favorite video game composer. Obviously with the Final Fantasy series, it's not even really close. The only person who's kind of close, like a somewhat close second, is like Akira Yamaoka with the Silent Hill series. I think he does his own thing very differently, of course, from Uematsu. Makes some very, very great soundtracks. But come on, look at the track record for Uematsu, man. Like, Uematsu's my favorite video game composer before I even knew he existed. Playing FF7 on the PlayStation 1 back in the day. I didn't give a shit about devs back then, dude. I wasn't looking at the credits. I wasn't paying attention to the credits. But I knew the music was good. Even before I knew who was behind the music, the name of the guy, I love the fucking music in the Final Fantasy series, dude. And he's always been my favorite as far back as I can remember. All I give a shit about is whatever's best for Uematsu. If he wants to retire, put the video game industry behind him and just enjoy the rest of his life. He's 65 years old. Fuck yeah, dude. Whatever. If he feels like he has it in him to do individual tracks for games in the future, that's great too. If he wants to contribute, he feels like he has something to contribute, fuck yeah. He has nothing left to prove. He's had a fucking insane career. 40 years of contributing some of the best music heard in gaming, right? And a lot of people, including myself, would argue that it is the best music in gaming. I mean, there's a ton of like great composers out there for video games that look up to Uematsu. Like your favorite composer's Uematsu, right? It's such an almost unmatched career that it'd be hard for anybody to do what he's done, right? Over the course of, almost 40 years now, he's put out some of the best music ever heard in gaming. So it's just one of those things that I don't know if anybody's realistically ever going to match it. Dude, that's more or less it for the video. I just want to kind of cover this, talk about it. Of course, Uematsu is so important to the Final Fantasy franchise, so important to this channel here. Important to my childhood, to my adult life. He's been a part of it since I was a kid. In some way or another, even if it's just the music I'm listening to in a video game, he's been there, been a part of my life for so fucking long. So it's bittersweet again if he is retiring entirely. And actually, quick update in the middle of making this video, I came across this tweet from Uematsu himself that says, wait, everybody calm down. There seems to be some misunderstanding, but I'm not retiring from video game music work. I'm going to cut back a bit on my video game music work because I want to have more time to make the music I want to make. It would be difficult for me to take on the entire soundtrack of a video game because the time commitment for composing would take too long, but I would like to continue to work on jobs such as one theme song. So we're waiting for your offer to Nobuo Uematsu Kontiki. I don't know if that is exactly. But yeah, it would seem like, of course, we've kind of talking about throughout the videos that I don't think he was retiring entirely from making video game music, because again, he has further commitments with stuff like the remake project and things. So it's good to hear. It's great. It's like a positive ending to the video here. I was a little sad to think that he would no longer be making music outside of his future commitments, but it seems like he's still going to be making at least individual tracks or something along those lines. Of course, pass off to you guys. Uematsu, the legend, the GOAT himself. What's your favorite soundtrack? Whatever game it might be. Mine's FF7. Whatever your favorite Uematsu game is. What's your favorite track from that game? Me personally, I've said it before on the channel, it's a track that plays at the Forgotten Capital in the original FF7. Listen to the Cries of the Planet. There's such a unique vibe to that particular track in FF7 original, which is a game full of fantastic music. Just such an ominous, eerie vibe that even before you know what's supposed to happen there, you can just sense something bad is going to happen. But of course, that's just what I consider my favorite track from the original FF7. I guess maybe my favorite Uematsu track, but my god, there's so much good music in the original Final Fantasy VII, but also just tons of good music in all the Final Fantasy games. Like, I think every Final Fantasy game that I've ever played, he's contributed to the music in some way. Because like something like Final Fantasy X, he had help with that, right? But he still was a part of it. I don't know how much was him versus the other guy, but my god, that game's got fucking great music too. That's it for the video. Subscribe to you guys in news social networks in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @DaveYT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.